Commander Jinwoo floated in the zero-gravity observation deck of the Zephyrian research vessel. Peaceful dawn, his crystalline eyes fixed on the blue marble spinning below. The holographic display cast an eerie glow across his scaled features. As thousands of red dots blinked across Earth's surface, each representing enough destructive power to crack a moon in half. "Commander, these readings make no sense," Lieutenant Minji said, her purple tentacles dancing nervously across the control panel. Her species, the Tenthari, were known throughout the galaxy for their analytical minds, but Earth had left her completely baffled. "Look at this data. Humans possess 30,400 nuclear warheads. Their conventional weapons could level cities in minutes, yet their last major planetary conflict ended over 70 years ago." Jinwoo's three eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep concentration among his people. "Show me their recent military activities." The hologram shifted, displaying various human military bases across the planet. Soldiers marched in formation, jets screamed across training ranges, and massive warships cut through ocean waves. Everything looked normal for a warrior species. "Sir, by all calculations, they should be the most aggressive civilization in this sector," Minji continued, pulling up comparison charts. "The Vorthan Empire controls 12 star systems with half this firepower. The Kaldern Horde conquered 3 galaxies with primitive plasma cannons, yet humans just sit there." "Perhaps they've evolved beyond warfare," Jinwoo suggested, though his tone carried doubt. "Deploy stealth probes. I want to observe their decision-making centers. There must be some advanced philosophy or technology keeping them peaceful." 3 hours later, Captain Hyunwoo's voice crackled through the communication system from his orbital surveillance post. "Commander, you need to see this. I've been watching their military command center and, well, it's not what we expected." The main screen flickered to life, showing the interior of the Pentagon. Jinwoo expected to see strategic war rooms filled with tactical displays and battle plans. Instead, he watched a group of humans sitting around a polished table, engaged in what appeared to be heated debate. "We've been monitoring for 6 hours, Hyunwoo reported, his voice tinged with confusion. "They're arguing about whether increasing border patrol by 12% qualifies as enhanced security measures or pre-defensive positioning." Minji's tentacles stopped moving entirely. "They're debating terminology." It gets stranger. "Sir, Colonel Sun-ho wanted to move a radar station 15 kilometers to improve coverage. He's been waiting 3 months for approval." Jinwoo leaned forward, his interest piqued. 3 months? For a radar station?" "Yes, sir. Apparently, he needs signatures from the base commander, the regional security chief, the environmental impact office, the budget allocation committee, the strategic planning division, and something called the paperwork verification department." The observation team watched in fascination as Colonel Sun-ho, a decorated human military officer, sat at his desk surrounded by towering stacks of documents. His computer screen displayed 17 different forms, each requiring multiple approvals and cross-references. "Sir," Captain Hyunwoo continued, "I intercepted their communications. Colonel Sun-ho has been trying to requisition new boots for his soldiers. The request has been passed between 14 different offices. It's currently awaiting approval from someone called the Footwear Safety Compliance Officer." Lieutenant Minji's analytical mind raced through possibilities. "Commander, what if this isn't advanced evolution? What if they've accidentally created a system so complex that warfare becomes impossible?" On screen, they watched as General Tae-hyung entered a briefing room where 12 other officers sat around, a table covered in papers. For the next 2 hours, the humans discussed whether their upcoming training exercise needed approval from the Weather Monitoring Department. "Sir, their Admiral Seok-jin has been waiting 6 months to upgrade their missile defense system," Hyunwoo reported. "The paperwork is stuck in something called the interdepartmental review process." Jinwoo's scales rippled with amusement and bewilderment. "Show me their weapons research facilities." The display shifted to a high-security laboratory where Dr. Namjoon, Earth's leading weapons scientist, sat staring at his computer screen. He had designed a revolutionary defense system capable of protecting entire continents, but the project had been halted pending approval from the Advanced Technology Ethics Committee. How long has he been waiting? Jinwoo asked. 14 months. Sir, the committee meets once every 6 weeks, but they keep forming subcommittees to study the committee's effectiveness. Minji's tentacles began moving again, this time in patterns indicating deep thought. Commander, I'm beginning to understand. They haven't eliminated their capacity for war. They've buried it under so many procedures that actually fighting becomes nearly impossible. Through their surveillance, they watched Captain Yoongi attempting to schedule a routine patrol. His request bounced between the operations department, the scheduling coordinator, the route approval office, and the mission safety review board. By the time all approvals were obtained, the strategic need for the patrol had expired. Sir, Hyunwoo's voice carried a note of amazement. I think we've discovered humanity's secret. They've achieved peace not through wisdom or technology, but through the most powerful force in the universe, bureaucracy. Jinwoo stared at the chaotic beauty of human administration, watching as Earth's mighty military machine ground to a halt under the weight of its own paperwork. Somewhere in the depths of space, unknown threats gathered, but Earth remained blissfully protected by an impenetrable shield of forms, signatures, and committees. Fascinating, he whispered, already wondering if the Zephyrian Council could learn from this accidental stroke of genius. Lieutenant Somin adjusted her holographic disguise as she walked through the marble corridors of the United Nations building. Her shape-shifting abilities allowed her to appear perfectly human, complete with a crisp business suit and official-looking badge. As a Zephyrian intelligence specialist, she had infiltrated war councils across 3 galaxies, but nothing had prepared her for what she was about to witness. She expected to find Earth's supreme military command center, perhaps hidden behind layers of security and armed guards. Instead, she discovered Ambassador Taehyung and Representative Nayeon locked in intense debate over a document that looked more like a cookbook than a battle plan. The salad fork must be placed exactly 2.3 centimeters to the left of the dinner. Fork, Taehyung declared, his voice rising with passion. Any deviation could be interpreted as a diplomatic insult by visiting delegates from the Andromeda sector. Nayeon flipped through a massive protocol manual, its pages yellowed with age. But according to subsection 47C of the International Dining Etiquette Guidelines, salad forks placed more than 2.1 centimeters from the dinner fork violate the Brussels Convention of 1987. Somin watched in amazement as these 2 humans spent 47 minutes debating silverware placement while a galactic crisis loomed overhead. Her communication device buzzed softly with updates from the Vorthan invasion fleet, now just 3 solar systems away and closing fast. Furthermore, Taehyung continued, pulling out a magnifying glass to examine the manual, if we use the wrong napkin fold, it could trigger a diplomatic incident that takes months to resolve through proper channels. Meanwhile, across the city, General Minho sat in his Pentagon office staring at a computer screen showing the status of Form 2847B, Request for Environmental Impact Assessment of Military Training Exercise. The digital timestamp showed it had been submitted 186 days ago. His aide, Colonel Jiwon, knocked on the door. Sir, the Environmental Committee has scheduled another review meeting. When? Minho asked hopefully. Next Thursday. But they need to form a subcommittee first to determine if the current committee has the authority to review military exercises that might disturb migratory bird patterns. Minho rubbed his temples. Colonel, we just want to practice tank maneuvers in the desert. There are no birds in that desert. Yes, sir, but the Environmental Protection Agency says we need to verify that fact through a 6-month ecological survey. Back at the UN building, Somin discovered something even more bizarre. She followed a group of military advisors into what she assumed would be a strategic planning session. Instead, she found herself in a conference room where 12 officers debated whether their next meeting should be classified as a strategic consultation or an operational discussion. If we call it a strategic consultation, we need approval from the Strategic Planning Oversight Board, explained Admiral Seok-jin, consulting a flowchart that covered an entire wall. But if it's an operational discussion, we need 3 witnesses from the Operations Review Committee, countered Colonel Hoseok, waving a different manual. Captain Yuna raised her hand. What if we call it an informal strategic operational consultation discussion? The room fell silent, as everyone considered this revolutionary idea. Admiral Seokjin began frantically searching through his reference materials, while Colonel Hoseok started making phone calls to verify the proper protocols. Somin transmitted her findings back to the observation ship, where intelligence officer Jaeyoung analyzed the data with growing disbelief. Her tentacles moved rapidly across multiple holographic displays, each showing different aspects of human military bureaucracy. Commander Jinwoo, she reported through the communication system, "I've been monitoring their military communications for weeks. General Minho spends 4 hours daily in meetings about scheduling other meetings. Admiral Seokjin has a standing appointment every Tuesday to discuss the formation of committees that haven't been formed yet." On the main display, Chaeyoung showed a timeline of human military decisions. "Sir, their last major weapons upgrade took 14 years to approve, not because of technical difficulties, but because the Weapons Approval Committee couldn't agree on the color of the warning labels." Jinwoo's 3 eyes widened in disbelief. 14 years for warning labels? Yes, sir. And there's something called budget allocation hearings that last longer than the entire Galactic War of 2387. I monitored one session where they spent 6 hours debating whether coffee expenses should be classified under operational necessities or morale enhancement supplies. The observation deck's warning system suddenly activated, bathing everything in red light. Captain Hyunwoo's voice crackled through the speakers from his orbital patrol ship. "Commander, the Vorthan invasion fleet has entered the outer solar system. 50 dreadnoughts, 200 fighter craft, and their flagship Death's Shadow. They'll reach Earth in 72 hours. Jinwoo immediately activated the emergency communication channel to Earth's defense networks, expecting to witness humanity's military machine spring into action. Instead, his screens showed a very different scene. In the Pentagon's Crisis Center, General Minho received the threat assessment report and immediately called an emergency meeting. 12 officers gathered around a polished table, but instead of planning Earth's defense, they began debating whether an alien invasion qualified as a foreign military incursion or an unexpected diplomatic contact scenario. "If it's a military incursion, we follow Protocol Delta 7, explained Colonel Jiwon, reading from a thick manual. "But if it's diplomatic contact, we need approval from the State Department's Extraterrestrial Affairs Division," added Admiral Seokjin. "Does the Extraterrestrial Affairs Division actually exist?" asked Captain Yuna. The room fell silent again. After 20 minutes of research, they discovered that the Extraterrestrial Affairs Division had been proposed in 1987 but never officially created because the Bureaucracy Formation Committee couldn't agree on its jurisdiction. "So we need to form the committee before we can respond to the invasion?" General Minho asked weakly. "Yes, sir, but forming new committees requires approval from the Committee Formation Oversight Board, which meets once every 3 months. Chaeyoung watched this unfolding disaster with a mixture of horror and fascination. "Commander, Earth's Threat Assessment Committee is currently forming a subcommittee to evaluate whether they need a committee to assess the threat of the approaching Vorthan fleet." Jinwoo stared at the tactical display showing the Vorthan warships, closing in on a planet whose defenders were too busy filling out paperwork to notice their impending doom. Humanity's greatest weapon was about to become their greatest weakness, and they didn't even realize it. Warlord Gangnam stood on the bridge of his massive flagship, Conqueror's Wrath, its black hull bristling with plasma cannons and quantum torpedoes. His forearms gripped the command console as 50 Vorthan dreadnoughts emerged from hyperspace, their engines glowing like angry red stars against the darkness. For 3 centuries, no world had resisted the Vorthan Empire for more than 6 hours. "Deploy battle formation Omega 7, Gangnam bellowed, his razor-sharp teeth gleaming under the bridge lights. "Today, we add another planet to our collection." The Vorthan fleet spread across Earth's orbital space like a deadly spider web. Each ship carried enough firepower to crack continents, their crews thirsting for the glory of conquest. Gangnam activated the Universal Communication Array, expecting to deliver his standard surrender ultimatum. Instead, a cheerful human voice filled the bridge. "Thank you for contacting Earth's Planetary Defense Network. Your call is important to us. Please hold while we transfer you to the appropriate department." Soft elevator music began playing through the speakers. Gangnam's second-in-command, General Hux tilted his massive head in confusion. "Sir, they're playing music at us?" "It must be some kind of psychological warfare," Gangnam growled, though privately he found the melody oddly soothing. On Earth's lunar monitoring station, Admiral Seojin watched the alien fleet through high-powered telescopes while sipping his morning coffee. The sight of 50 massive warships should have terrified him, but instead he felt only mild annoyance at the interruption to his routine. "Sir, the aliens are requesting to speak with whoever handles planetary surrenders," communications officer Yuri reported, adjusting her headset. Admiral Seojin set down his coffee mug and consulted his directory. "Transfer them to the Department of Extraterrestrial Affairs." Yuri's fingers danced across her keyboard before stopping abruptly. "Sir, that department doesn't exist yet." "Then transfer them to the committee working on creating it." "The Extraterrestrial Affairs Formation Committee. That's the one." Back on the Vorthan flagship, Gangnam listened to another recorded message. "The Department of Alien Relations Formation Committee is currently in session discussing the formation of a committee to handle your request. Due to high call volume, your estimated wait time is 6 to 8 weeks. Please have your invasion permit number ready." General Hux scratched his scaled head with one of his claws. "Invasion permit number, sir?" "I don't know what that means," Gangnam admitted, his confidence beginning to waver. The Vorthan fleet maintained its threatening formation around Earth, but confusion spread through the ranks as more automated messages arrived. Captain Zorg of the dreadnought Planet Crusher received a cheerful notification. "Welcome to Earth's orbital space. Please note that vessels exceeding 500 meters in length require special parking permits. Contact the orbital traffic." Management Office for Assistance. Lieutenant Colonel Daiho, monitoring alien communications from his underground bunker, nearly choked on his coffee as he intercepted Vorthan transmissions. "Admiral Seojin, you need to hear this. Their ship commanders are getting parking tickets." "Parking tickets?" Seojin leaned forward in his chair. "Yes, sir. Apparently their battleships are violating Earth's orbital traffic laws. The Vorthan captain of Death's Edge just received a citation for parking in a geostationary orbit without proper permits." On the bridge of Death's Edge, Captain Vex stared at the holographic ticket that had materialized in front of his command chair. The official Earth seal glowed blue as a robotic voice read the violation. "Citation 4471B, illegal occupation of orbital space without proper documentation. Fine. 500 Earth credits or community service equivalent. You have 30 days to contest this citation." "Community service?" Vex turned to his weapons officer. "What's community service?" "I believe it involves helping elderly humans cross streets, sir." The mighty Vorthan invasion fleet found itself trapped in an ever-growing web of Earth bureaucracy. Warlord Gangnam's demands for immediate conquest were forwarded to the Department of Hostile Intent Processing, which didn't exist. His threats of planetary destruction were sent to the Environmental Impact Assessment Office, who scheduled a review meeting for the following month. Commander Jinwoo watched this unprecedented scene unfold from his observation ship, his 3 eyes blinking rapidly in amazement. "Lieutenant Minji, are you recording this?" "Yes, sir, but I'm not sure anyone will believe it," Minji replied, her tentacles trembling with barely contained laughter. The situation escalated when the Vorthan fleet tried to land troops on Earth's surface. Instead of facing military resistance, their shuttles were met by a small army of clipboard-carrying officials from the Immigration and Customs Office. "Welcome to Earth," said Immigration Officer Jungkook, completely unfazed by the 10-foot-tall alien warrior towering over him. "Do you have your visas?" General Brutax, leader of the Vorthan shock troops, gestured menacingly with his plasma rifle. "We come to conquer, not visit." "I understand, sir, but conquest still requires proper documentation. Are you here for business or pleasure?" "Business," Brutax roared. "Excellent. You'll need to fill out Form I-94W for temporary business visitors. Do you have proof of employment with a recognized conquering organization?" Brutax looked around helplessly as his fearsome warriors were handed stacks of immigration paperwork. Several of his soldiers sat on nearby benches, struggling to fill out forms with their massive claws. Meanwhile, the Vorthan fleet's communication systems became overloaded with Earth's automated response messages. Every ship received notifications about orbital parking violations, requests for environmental impact statements, and invitations to attend mandatory safety briefings about proper weapons storage in Earth's atmosphere. Captain Drex of the battleship Annihilator found himself on hold with Earth's noise complaint. Department after his ship's engines were deemed excessively loud by residents of the International Space Station. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "they want us to install mufflers on our plasma drives." "Mufflers?" Drex's voice cracked, with disbelief. "Yes, sir. They've also scheduled us for a hearing with the Orbital Noise Control Board next Tuesday." Back on Earth, General Minho finally arrived at his office after spending 3 hours in traffic, caused by a protest against improper filing of alien invasion paperwork. He found his desk covered with urgent messages from various government departments, each demanding different forms of documentation from the Vorthon fleet. "Colonel G1," he called to his aide, "has anyone actually told these aliens they can't invade us?" "Well, sir, the legal department says we need to file a formal objection through proper channels first." "How long will that take?" "The formal objection processing office is backed up about 4 months, sir." Warlord Gangnam, still holding for his 6th consecutive hour, began to question everything he thought he knew about conquest. His mighty war fleet, terror of 12 star systems, had been reduced to filling out forms and waiting on hold. The elevator music had somehow gotten stuck in his head, and he found himself humming along despite his growing frustration. As Earth's bureaucratic defense continued its slow, relentless assault on the Vorthon invasion force, one thing became clear. Humanity had accidentally created the most powerful weapon in galactic history, paperwork that could stop an entire war fleet without firing a single shot. The breaking point came during Earth's mandatory workplace safety seminar. Commander Vex of the Dreadnought, Death's Edge, found himself squeezed into a tiny plastic chair in a fluorescent-lit conference room surrounded by his fellow Vorthon warriors. Their massive frames looked ridiculous, crammed into furniture designed for humans, but Earth's Occupational Safety Administration had been very clear. Anyone operating weapons in Earth's orbital space must complete the required training. "Now, as we can see in slide 47, droned Safety Inspector Kyung-soo, clicking through his PowerPoint presentation, proper plasma rifle storage requires at least 6 inches of clearance on all sides to prevent accidental discharge." Commander Vex raised one of his forearms. "We use these weapons to destroy planets. Why do we need clearance space?" "Excellent question," Kyung-soo beamed. "According to Earth Safety Code 2847C, all energy weapons must be stored in compliance with our fire prevention standards. Planet-destroying capability doesn't exempt you from proper safety protocols." Captain Brutax, the feared leader of Vorthon shock troops, stared at his safety manual in despair. 3 hours into the seminar, he had learned about proper lifting techniques, emergency evacuation procedures, and the importance of wearing safety goggles when operating fusion cannons. His legendary warrior spirit was slowly dying inside. "I can't take any more," whispered Commander Zarg to his fellow officer. "I conquered 17 worlds, but I can't conquer this slide presentation about proper ladder usage." By the end of the 8-hour safety course, 3 Vorthon commanders had officially surrendered to Earth authorities, begging to be taken prisoner, rather than attend the follow-up seminar on ergonomic weapon handling in zero-gravity environments. The situation grew worse when Earth's Internal Revenue Service entered the fray. IRS agent Jimin arrived at the Vorthon flagship with a briefcase full of tax forms and a smile that could freeze plasma. "Warlord Gangnam," Jimin announced cheerfully, boarding the alien ship with complete confidence. "I'm here about your tax situation." Gangnam towered over the small human, his razor-sharp claws gleaming under the bridge lights. "I don't pay taxes, I conquer worlds." "That's wonderful, sir," Jimin replied, completely unfazed. "Conquering falls under our interplanetary business. Activities tax code. I'll need your returns for the past 3 galactic cycles." "I don't have tax returns," Gangnam roared. "No problem. We can help you file retroactively. There's just a small penalty for late filing, about 47% of your total galactic conquest profits, plus interest." General Hux tried to intervene. "Human, do you realize you're addressing the terror of 12 star systems?" Jimin adjusted his glasses and consulted his tablet. According to our records, terror-based income is taxable under Section 401K of the Emotional Distress Revenue Code. Sir, you owe approximately 2.3 billion Earth credits in back taxes. 2 more Vorthan commanders immediately surrendered, claiming they would rather face execution than deal with Earth's tax system. Meanwhile, Warlord Gangnam's desperation reached new heights as he screamed into his communications array. "This is absurd. I demand immediate conquest protocols. Deploy the Planet Cracker missiles." His aide, Lieutenant Vorg, approached with trembling claws, holding a thick stack of papers. "Sir, Earth's Conquest Permit Office says we need Form 847B for planet-cracking activities. Then get the form. We can't get that form without first obtaining a hostile intent license from the Department of Aggressive Actions, sir." "Fine, get the license." The hostile intent license requires proof of evil organization registration from the Bureau of Villainous Activities, which requires a background check from the Criminal Enterprise Certification Office, which requires Gangnam's roar of frustration could be heard across 3 solar systems. Captain Yuna, monitoring the situation from the Zephyrian observation post, contacted Commander Jinwoo with barely contained amazement. "Sir, the Vorthan flagship just sent a formal request for asylum." "Asylum?" Jinwoo's 3 eyes blinked in sequence. "From whom?" "From Earth's bureaucracy, sir. Warlord Gangnam claims he'd rather face a galactic war crimes tribunal than fill out another Earth government form. The final blow came when the Vorthan fleet attempted to demand tribute from Earth's governments. Their list of demands was comprehensive: gold, precious metals, advanced technology, and strategic resources. What they received in return was a polite form letter from the Department of Foreign Tribute Processing. "Dear conquering entity," the letter began, "thank you for your tribute request, dated stardate 4471.3. Your demands have been received and logged under case number TRB 2025-0847. Please note that all tribute requests must be submitted in triplicate to the following 14 agencies." The letter went on to list requirements that included environmental impact assessments for resource extraction, tax implications of tribute payments, labor union negotiations for any humans involved in tribute collection, and mandatory background checks for all alien recipients. Each copy must be notarized by a certified Earth diplomat, the letter continued, and accompanied by a non-refundable processing fee of 500 Earth credits per form. Commander Drex of the battleship Annihilator calculated the bureaucratic requirements and discovered they would need 847 different signatures, 23 environmental studies, and approval from agencies that didn't exist yet. "Sir," he reported to Gangnam, "completing their tribute request process would take approximately 47 years. 47 years? Gangnam's voice cracked. "Yes, sir, assuming no delays or additional committee formations. The mighty Vorthan invasion fleet, terror of the known galaxy, began its retreat on a Tuesday morning. Not because they faced superior firepower or brilliant military strategy, but because they received one final communication from Earth's government. The message was simple, devastating, and utterly human in its passive-aggressive efficiency. Your conquest request has been forwarded to the appropriate department. Due to high volume, please allow 6 to 8 weeks for initial processing. You will receive a confirmation number once your request enters the preliminary review phase. Thank you for choosing Earth." Warlord Gangnam stared at the message for a full minute before turning to his crew. "Set course for the Andromeda Galaxy. We'll conquer something easier." "What's easier than a single planet, sir?" asked General Hux. "Anything," Gangnam replied wearily. "Literally anything is easier than this." As the Vorthan fleet disappeared into hyperspace, Earth continued its normal daily routine, completely unaware that it had just achieved the most spectacular military victory in galactic history without firing a single shot. The only casualty was a filing cabinet in the Pentagon that collapsed under the weight of too many forms, injuring no one but requiring a full safety investigation that would take 6 months to complete. Commander Jinwoo watched the retreating ships with newfound respect for human civilization. They had witnessed something unprecedented, a species that could defeat any enemy simply by asking them to fill out the proper paperwork. Commander Jinwoo stood before the crystalline council, chambers of Zephyria Prime, his scaled hands trembling slightly as he prepared to deliver the most important report in galactic history. The 7 members of the Zephyrien High Council sat in their floating meditation pods, their ancient eyes glowing with curiosity about Earth's mysterious peacekeeping methods. "Honorable councillors," Jinwoo began, his voice echoing through the vast chamber. "After 6 months of intensive study, I can confirm that humans have achieved something we thought impossible. They have created the most devastating weapon in known space, yet they use it only for peace." Council Elder Zerion leaned forward, his tentacles rippling with interest. "Show us this weapon, Commander." Jinwoo activated the holographic display, showing images of humans sitting around conference tables, filling out forms and waiting in long lines. They call it administrative complexity. Humans have made warfare so bureaucratically challenging that conquest becomes logistically impossible. The council chamber fell silent. Council Elder Vyara's eyes narrowed. "You're telling us that humans prevent war with paperwork?" "Not just paperwork, Elder. They've created a system so intricate that any aggressive action requires navigating a maze of committees, forms, approvals, and subcommittees. The Vorthan Empire, conquerors of 12 star systems, retreated rather than fill out their conquest application." Elder Zerion's ancient voice carried skepticism. "Commander, the Vorthans possess planet-cracking weapons. Surely they could bypass human bureaucracy with simple force." "That's what we thought, Elder. But observe this." The hologram shifted to show Warlord Gangnam's final transmission from his retreating flagship. The Vorthan leader stated, "And I, quote, I would rather fight 1,000 warriors than face another Earth government form." The council members exchanged glances, their communication tentacles twitching with rapid conversation in their ancient language. Finally, Elder Zerion spoke. "If this is true, we must study their methods. Our own border conflicts with the Andromedans have lasted 3 centuries. Within 6 months, the Zephyrien Confederation had undergone a complete transformation. The once efficient military structure that had maintained peace through superior technology was replaced with something far more powerful: committees. Lieutenant Minji found herself appointed to the Committee Formation Oversight Board, which was responsible for approving the creation of new committees. Her first task was to establish 17 subcommittees dedicated to different aspects of committee formation, each requiring approval from the Committee Approval Committee. "Sir," she reported to Commander Jinwoo during their weekly status meeting, "we've successfully prevented 2 potential border conflicts with the Andromedans." "Through military deterrence?" Jinwoo asked. "No, sir, through paperwork. When the Andromedans demanded access to the Triangulum trade routes, we sent them Form 4471C, Request for Route Access Evaluation. They're still trying to figure out how to fill it out." Meanwhile, Captain Wu Jin had been permanently stationed at Earth to continue monitoring human bureaucratic evolution. His daily reports back to Zephyria had become legendary throughout the galactic intelligence community. "Daily Report 847, he transmitted from his hidden observation post above Earth. "The humans continue to amaze. General Jisoo has now spent 14 consecutive hours in budget allocation meetings. The current debate centers on whether coffee supplies should be categorized under essential personnel fuel or optional beverage enhancement. 3 committees have been formed just to decide which committee should make this decision." On Earth's surface, completely unaware of the galactic revolution they had inspired, humans continued their normal routines. In the Pentagon, Colonel Hyung sat at her desk, staring at a requisition form for pencil sharpeners. The request had been pending approval for 3 months, bouncing between the Office Supply Procurement Division, the Mechanical Device Safety Board, and the Sharp Object Registration Committee. "Colonel," her aide reported, "good news about the pencil sharpener situation." "We got approval?" Hyung asked hopefully. "Better. The Pencil Maintenance Committee has scheduled a meeting to discuss forming a subcommittee to evaluate the necessity of sharp pencils in modern military operations." Captain Wu Jin's reports continued. The Department of Defense has achieved new levels of administrative artistry. They have scheduled a meeting to discuss scheduling meetings more efficiently. The irony appears lost on them, but the effectiveness is undeniable. No enemy could possibly navigate their system fast enough to pose a threat. Across the galaxy, word of Earth's bureaucratic defense systems spread like wildfire. The warlike Klendathu Hive, famous for their swift planetary assaults, attempted to invade the peaceful Centauri colonies. Instead of meeting them with military force, the Centaurians simply sent them an application for hostile intent permits. The Klendathu Queen, after spending 6 weeks trying to understand the permit process, declared the Centauri system administratively impregnable and moved on to easier targets. Even the dreaded Borg collective, mechanical beings focused on efficiency above all else, encountered a human-style bureaucracy on the planet New Geneva. Their attempts at assimilation were halted when they were told they needed to file environmental impact assessments for each individual they planned to assimilate. The Borg Queen's final transmission before retreat was simply, "Bureaucracy is futile. We cannot adapt to this level of administrative complexity." In the White House, President Subin sat in the Oval Office, methodically signing his way through the daily stack of documents. His pen moved across hundreds of forms: budget approvals, personnel transfers, equipment authorizations, and routine military inventory reports. He paused at one particular form: approval for routine maintenance of strategic defense satellites. It seemed harmless enough, just basic upkeep of Earth's orbital defense network. His signature took 3 seconds. Unknown to President Subin, that single signature had just prevented 3 separate interstellar conflicts. The Rigelian Trade Consortium had been planning to forcibly establish mining operations in Earth's asteroid belt, but the bureaucratic delays in their invasion permit applications had given them time to reconsider. The Tau Ceti pirates had abandoned their Earth raid plans after discovering they needed 17 different forms just to enter the solar system legally. Captain Wu Jin transmitted his final report. The humans have achieved something unprecedented in galactic history. They have created a defense system so perfect that it works without anyone realizing it exists. Their leaders make decisions in meetings they don't want to attend, sign papers they barely read, and fill out forms that seem pointless. Yet this chaotic system has brought peace to an entire galaxy sector. Commander Jinwu, now promoted to Director of Galactic Peacekeeping Studies, stood once again before the Zephyrian High Council. Honorable Elders, our implementation of human administrative protocols has exceeded all expectations. Border conflicts are down 98% galaxy-wide. The secret isn't eliminating the capacity for war, it's making war so administratively challenging that everyone chooses peace instead. Elder Zerian nodded sagely. And the humans? Still completely unaware, Elder. Yesterday, their Pentagon spent 4 hours debating whether staplers should be classified as office equipment or binding devices. While they argued about staplers, their bureaucratic system prevented 2 more interstellar conflicts. The galaxy had learned humanity's greatest secret. True peace doesn't come from the absence of weapons, but from making their use so bureaucratically complex that everyone gives up and goes home. Earth continued spinning peacefully through space, protected by the most powerful force in the universe, proper paperwork procedures, and the magical phrase, "That's not my department." As Captain Wu Jin prepared his final transmission before returning to Zephyria, he watched General Jisoo enter his 15th hour of budget meetings and smiled. Humanity had saved the galaxy simply by being themselves, and they would never know it. The end.